What is up, YouTube? This is Kyan Cannon from Arguably Georgia Sports, and today we are going to be recapping week 12 of the college football season. Can't believe we're here already, and so let's get right into it.
Yeah, the end is coming soon, and we are going to try to get out 3 videos tonight, and yeah, so let's get started. All right, we're going to start out with Alabama versus Mercer, 56-0. I don't think we really need to talk about anything else. Jalen Hurts was perfect with 7 passes for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns, mainly to Calvin Ridley.
No, you got to say this though. Mercer is completely fine with the way their season has gone. I mean, they've been paid over $1 million by Auburn and Alabama to play them.
Yeah, they're not trying to be a good football team. They're just trying to earn money. Next, we're gonna Citadel Clemson 61-0. Kelly Bryant was 17 of 22 for 230 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. I feel like we should just not. This one was actually a very competitive game. I was there in Hard Rock Stadium. It was 44-28 Miami, but they were down 14 points twice. And then they got turnovers and turnover chain. Travis Homer, first offensive player to get the turnover chain.
Oh, that cheesy.
That was awesome.
That cheesy little thing
Muffed
that they have
punt
over there on the sideline. Well,
that's not cheesy. It is the most. It's the most well-known thing of the sort, which is actually that thing is growing. Like, lots of teams are trying to get some turnover motivator or defensive stuff, and it's the most famous one. I mean, I went there, and 1 out of 3 people had a turnover chain shirt or was wearing a turnover chain, and everybody wished they had one.
I call it a waste of money.
It was $200,000, but they're already making their money back. Okay. They're making all of their money back on merchandise alone. Say it's a waste of money, but they're making so much money.
Yeah, because that's totally official merchandise. But I will say this one thing: the Virginia quarterback Kurt Benkert, especially in the first half,
he was on
lights
fleek.
Out. He threw 1 incompletion. 1.
Yeah, and Rozier was just off. He was throwing passes behind him. I mean, he was just off. Yeah, so that was a really fun game. I was hoping to see a good game, but they really just pulled it out in the end. It was a lot closer than the score says.
Kind of a controversial game. Oklahoma running over Kansas.
You should stick to basketball.
Baker had some antics on the sideline. We're not going to get into that much, but. Yeah,
he's not starting next game, which is showing how bad their competition is.
With West Virginia, it's not a bad team.
I mean, Oklahoma, though, is nothing without him, and I think that's really going to hurt them.
Well, they say he's going to play. He's just not going to
Well, yeah, he's going to play. The backup.
And he's stripped of being a captain.
The backup played, the backup plays 1 play. Okay, he didn't start.
Yeah, exactly. Michigan and Wisconsin.
I thought it was an upset.
I thought Wisconsin, but has Wisconsin proved now that they're a legit team? They beat a pretty good team, Michigan.
Honestly,
team.
I was convinced here, and I still don't think they're going to beat Ohio State, because Ohio State playing Michigan, probably their biggest rival, right?
Oh yeah, easy. It isn't one of the biggest rivalries in the country.
On the road at Ann Arbor. Mm-hmm. If they win that huge game, coming into the championship, I mean, who's Wisconsin playing?
Penn State.
Oh, no, they're not.
If Ohio State loses to Michigan, Penn State.
No. I mean, rivalry weekend.
Oh, rivalry weekend. I think they're playing some garbage opponent, like they have for more than half their season.
Yeah.
Auburn, who struggled a little bit in the first half in this game.
I was really hoping for an upset, but yep, they won 42-14. Auburn stays rolling, going into the Iron Bowl. Kentucky, Georgia. Okay. Georgia was held last game to, I think it was 49 yards rushing against Auburn. Mm-hmm. This game they ran for 381 yards. They had Nick Chubb getting yards. They had Sony Michel getting yards. They had McCole Hardman getting yards. Actually, they had who else got yards? Swift, Fromm got a couple yards. Harrion, there was one more, and then But they really turned around that run game. And Kentucky, I think, in my mind, I actually had Georgia on upset alert. But they really laid the hammer down here.
Yeah, but Georgia needs to work on their passing game. Fromm
is insanely accurate.
When they played at probably my prediction, Alabama in the SEC championship, they're not going to be able to do this. It's not going to work.
Well, yeah, I know, but Jake Fromm is incredibly accurate. I don't think that they have a bad passing game. I just think that they don't need to pass the ball. And since Kirby Smart is an incredibly conservative coach, he doesn't pass the ball if he has such a dominant run game. And also, I think he's trying to reward Nick Chubb and Sony Michel for returning their senior year.
And then, and one thing too, the tight ends, Blazovic and Nada, have completely disappeared this season.
Well, yeah, they haven't really been catching many balls, but they've been blocking incredibly well, and I think that's really contributed to the run game.
Okay. Ohio State running over Illinois.
First Notre Dame. And can somebody please tell us in the comments what the actual score was here?
It was 24 to 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's a glitch.
It was 24 to 17. Notre Dame playing well, I guess, against a rival, but Notre Dame had like a 42-game win streak against Navy at one point. It's not really a rival.
Yeah.
Wimbush played mediocre.
But, I mean, he did have 164 yards. He only completed half of his passes, though.
Yeah, but he threw for 2 touchdowns at Notre Dame. I think this was a trap game, but they survived.
Okay, Ohio State versus Illinois. Snowing so hard. Like, so hard. And, it was one of the crazy weather games. The other one was LSU, Tennessee, but we'll get to that later. Just 52-14 ran over them. Reversed records, 9-2 and 2-9. Illinois is just terrible. I think that's all we really have to say.
Nebraska and Penn State, a shootout here.
Close game. Penn State is just...
Saquon Barkley is helping us help his Heisman case in this game.
Yeah, he did. Last game, he only got 34 yards rushing. This game, he got 160, so that really helped.
And then UCLA and USC.
The battle of the quarterbacks.
And let's be honest here. UCLA could have won this game.
They could have, and they should have, I think.
Nobody
scored in the second quarter.
Yeah, second quarter was... Well, I watched the game, and it felt like this. It's like both defenses were bending and not breaking. Every possession, the team would get into the opponent's territory, and they would either throw a pick or get sacked and be forced to punt. Like, it happened a ton, and UCLA did a great job of responding the whole game. When it felt like they were down, they'd come back and punch it in. But when they had a chance to take the lead, take advantage, they couldn't do that.
UCLA firing their coach. Now the coaching carousel just keeps going.
And this isn't... I heard they really want to go after Chip Kelly.
Yeah, well, okay, so I think there are two teams competing for Chip Kelly. Florida and UCLA. But I think, honestly, Chip Kelly... I think he's a better fit for UCLA because Florida still can get Scott Frost, and I think he would be the perfect fit.
I think Scott Frost is going to Nebraska, and here's the thing: Chip Kelly and Scott Frost.
I don't think Scott Frost is going to Nebraska.
Chip Kelly and Scott Frost are both offensive coaches, right?
Yeah.
In the SEC, where it's a league dominated by defense, I'm not sure that's going to work.
Yeah, but that's the thing is Florida has been trying for the last couple coaches, to actually get an offense, and that's what they brought. That's what they brought in. Their last coach for, so I think that they can keep their defense. I think that they can keep their defense because that's their identity, but they just need to get an offense. Well, they don't need to get a good offense. They just need to have an offense because they don't right now.
Well, UCLA's offensive coordinator I think actually has a great chance of getting the job. Jed Fish. He was the Michigan offensive OC last year when they put up like all those 60-point games. He's doing really well at UCLA, and he's been promoted to interim head coach to finish out the year. I think he has a chance of winning this job.
Do you think Lane Kiffin is going to get a Power 5 job this year?
No. He says he has no intentions of leaving Florida Atlantic either.
I mean, he's doing a great job.
He's had a good year, yeah. And then TCU and Texas Tech. TCU taking care of business. TCU is a great defense, especially for the Big 12.
Yeah, that would be...
Texas Tech has a great offense.
They're in the Big 12, of course.
Yeah, and they got shut down. Kansas State upsetting Oklahoma State.
This was the biggest... I think it was pretty much the only upset of the weekend. And I mean, the only reason it happened was because Mason Rudolph threw 4 incompletions in their last drive. 4 in a row. I mean, not all of them were his fault, but it was either probably a bad read or just not even close.
And then UCF
rolls again.
Rolls Temple. Scott Frost again. I so wish Tech had played them. That would have been an interesting game.
But then they'd already have a losing record.
Well, we don't know about that. I mean, UCF wasn't ranked at the time.
Well, yeah, but your ranking really doesn't.
So UCF continues to dominate, and a lot of these Power 5 teams, a lot of these Power 5 teams that are contending for a college football playoff probably won't make it, like a USC or a Notre Dame. They really don't want to play UCF in a New Year's Six Bowl because it's like if you win, you beat UCF, but if you lose, that's very embarrassing, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, UCF has proven to be very good, and I think I wish that there was a way that a team from the American Conference could make it to the playoffs.
I think if UCF wins out again next year, then they will. Like Boise State a few years ago.
Yeah, but Scott Frost is going to be taken.
Well, we don't know that.
We do.
It's nothing.
I mean, he's going to go somewhere.
He hasn't said anything. We don't know. He's done. We'll see. And then Arkansas trying to play spoiler, almost upsetting Mississippi State. Yeah, Mississippi State
had to lead it
in the second
for a good amount of the game. I just want to mention this. There's so many SEC teams that I feel like are going to be dominant in the next couple of years. And I think next year they'll regain their title as the most dominant conference in college football, if they haven't already, because they're given the Big Ten East. But I think the SEC is going to get it back, because they're going to have LSU, Mississippi State, they're going to have Georgia, obviously, and obviously Auburn, and obviously Alabama, and South Carolina, I think, is a sleeper team to be have a 10-win season or maybe more.
Kentucky's decent.
Kentucky could be decent. I mean,
Missouri might be on the rise.
Maybe, yeah. So, I mean, there are so many teams. And if you look at this year, how many teams are bad and getting new coaches and could possibly turn the program around? Let's say only half of those.
Like, what if Les Miles goes to Tennessee?
I would love that. Nobody is talking about Les Miles. And that was the first thing when I heard Tennessee, Les Miles. Forget John Gruden.
John Gruden has no chance. See,
he's making already more money. Well, probably more money than he would make doing commentating when you would have to spend 80 to 90 hours a week on a head coaching job when you're getting paid about the same. It's not worth it.
No, it's worse than that. So John Gruden is being paid $10 million a year by ESPN to work 70 nights of the year. He would be being paid $6 to $7 million to coach Tennessee and work 365 days a year. He's not going to take that job.
No. It wouldn't make sense.
Michigan State over Maryland. Nothing much there. Maryland scored some.
I thought they might put up some points when I saw they had 14 in the second quarter, but no. Washington struggling with Utah, won with a 38-yard field goal, 33-30. What happened to Washington?
I still think they're a good team. They're just not an elite team.
I think that Chris Peterson is one of the best coaches in the country. The only problem is he doesn't have defense.
Yeah, and then how about this? Another upset, Wake Forest. How about Wake? I mean, they're now 7-4.
They have the same record as NC State.
They just beat NC State. Dave Clawson, who came into a terrible program, had 2 straight 3-9 seasons.
That's becoming a good win for Tech.
Around. I mean, look, Wake Forest has a chance to be ranked coming into this week.
Yep, that's turning into a good win for Georgia Tech. LSU, they need one. LSU versus Tennessee, 30-10. LSU kind of imposed their will. Yeah, Tennessee missed it. Did you see that field goal?
No, I wasn't watching.
It was probably about 20 yards wide.
Ooh, how far was it back?
It was about like 30 or 40 yards.
Wow.
I mean, it wasn't an extremely difficult field goal.
Yeah.
Like, it would be fine if you missed it, but the way he missed it was just awful. Give him some credit because it was terrible weather, but
yeah,
awful. Memphis, SMU, Memphis's offense just completely dominates. UCF is going to have some good wins this year.
Yeah.
Memphis. I
They
think,
didn't just beat Memphis; they blew out Memphis.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there can beat USF,
Yeah.
who is a very good team. I
Yeah,
think.
that's gonna be a good game on Friday.
Aside from Miami, I think UCF is obviously the best team in Florida. Yeah, Florida's actually a pretty good team outside of the Power Five. They have FAU.
Yeah.
They have Southern Florida. They have UCF. You could make an argument for FIU.
Yeah, and then Stanford beating Cal in a good game. I watched some of this game on and off. It was very close. Came down to the end. And if Stanford if Stanford had lost that game, Washington could still go to the Pac-12 title game.
They could. Northwestern blowing out Minnesota, 39-0.
Minnesota started the season out so well, and I like their coach a lot, PJ Fleck, and he might actually leave to take one of these big jobs. He was the guy at Western Michigan last year who led them to the 13-0 year.
Okay, so there's a rumor going around, and this probably has absolutely nothing to do with anything, that A&M wants Jimbo Fisher. Mm-hmm. Do you think it would be worth it to him to go?
That's not going to happen. Jimbo Fisher's been offered so much money by so many different teams.
LSU, which would be the place to go for him.
And he did not take that job.
But maybe coming off of an off year.
Yeah, I think Kevin Sumlin might keep his job this year.
I think he might start looking around because if you're Kevin Sumlin, you know you're on the hot seat about every year.
Yeah.
And you're playing the same competition who is really good.
It's not going to get any better.
I mean, if Florida had played the usual year, they would have beat them.
But let's be honest, Kevin Sumlin put Texas A&M on the map. Before him, they were pretty much nothing. They were Vanderbilt.
Yep. Same thing happened at Mississippi State.
And then Johnny Manziel came and turned them into a contender. Boise State beating Air Force. Boise State, that's what was expected. We're not going to get into that much. And then...
All right. I mean, the college football playoff rankings haven't come out yet. I mean, we can take a peek at the AP poll. So let's look at those. So not much changed. The top 7 stayed exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. Then there's Ohio State, Notre Dame, TCU, USC, Penn State, UCF jumping up to number 13.
I like that. Give them some respect.
Yeah,
they're undefeated.
I hope they're a top 10 team by the end of the year. Washington State, Washington going into the Apple Cup. That's gonna be.
I think they're actually starting to value the undefeated American teams more because
Memphis is
last year Western Michigan went undefeated and then they only got up to 14 after the entire season.
And then Mississippi State, Memphis, Oklahoma State, LSU, Stanford, Michigan State, South Florida back in there, Northwestern, Virginia Tech, Boise State. And then other teams receiving votes. How does Wake Forest only get 7 votes and is way down there?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I don't think Michigan should.
Michigan, Iowa State, South Carolina, they should be up there. NC State, San Diego State, Wake, A&M, and Fresno State. And I think that's going to conclude our episode. And as always, but not really as always, but always now,